Hello guys. So we will wait for another 5 minutes and let everyone to join in. We will start sharp at 5:05. Thank you. Hello guys, I'm Ushika and the host for today's evening. Welcome back to the workshop series on creating Instagram and Facebook filters with SparkAR. I'm thankful to each one of you for joining in today. As you might know, or to the ones who have joined in for the first time, this is the third and the finale series of this workshop. So, in case you missed the earlier two sessions, please check them out. The links are in the description below. And as you know the drill, please like, share, and subscribe the channel. We keep on bringing contents on and related to XR. So please hit the subscribe button below. Also join our Discord channel to connect with us. You can also find the joining link for Discord in the description below. So, without any further ado, let's get started. I would like to call, I would like to straight away call Dipayan. I'm sure most of you must know him. Yeah, he's still to the ones who aren't aware of him. He is the official campus ambassador for Spark here and the instructor for this workshop series. He is in his final year in KIT. So, Dipayan, over to you.
Thank you, Ashika. So, I will be starting today. First of all, I let you all know that today is going to be a short session. There is not much left to teach today. There is a lot to learn in SparkAR, but I will only be teaching the basics. So, I guess all of you have already do have quite a strong base in SparkAR, judging from the assignments that you have submitted by now. But I will today be teaching about some simple beauty effects and about creation of 2D assets, because some of you have had doubts since the first class in that. So I will be taking that up. And after the class, I will be attaching a resource file which will have an empty template for the assignment 1 from week 1 and assignment 2. So for those of you who have had troubles getting started, it's just a template I have created. It's all, everything is put together nicely. You just have to change the textures and everything according to your liking. So that is something you will be getting from my side. And let's get started for today. We will start with HDFs. We left off, we did some HDFs in last class. Let me just share my screen. Okay, so I have shared my screen. So today we start with HDFs. Today we will be doing a simple animation with HDFs. There's a lot of things you can do with HDFs. HDFs actually is a way you can reduce your file size, because a lot of things you would be doing without HDFs, like for example, if you're making an audio equalizer effect. An equalizer is when there are 7 or 8 small rectangles and they react to audio. So when you create that effect, traditionally you would bring 8 rectangles, and then 7 or 8 rectangles, you would give them all different materials, and you will change a lot. You will manipulate them individually. But with HDFs, you can just take one rectangle and then create 8 rectangles out of it, which saves a lot of space, and a lot your effect becomes a lot lighter. So that is something you can explore on your own. That is, I think there are a lot of tutorials about that on YouTube. Today we will be doing something basic with HDFs. So let me just open the patch editor. So here it is. I have the patches. I've already created all these effects. So first let me show you the patch before I start creating it. So this is a simple patch to work with HDFs. It is on a rectangle and the texture of the rectangle. So what I'm doing is I'm animating a HDF circle. There are a lot of different types of HDFs. I'm manipulating a loop, and I'm manipulating a HDF circle with a loop animation and a smooth step, so that it would give an effect of like a smoke kind of an effect. Not exactly a smoke. I will show you. You will see while I make. Let us make that. So first, let us give a rectangle, set a rectangle on top of the person, so that we can do our manipulations, STF manipulations on that. We will change this to fill width and fill height, so that it fills the user's phone. phone screen, we will give it a new material. Let's name this SDF, SDF material. Let's call it that. Now we don't need to do segmentation in this because we will be manipulating the SDF so that some part of it becomes transparent so you can see through it. So there is no need for segmentation in this. So we need to make a patch for the texture of the SDF, change that to flat so that it is not affected by the light. I don't want it to be affected by light, but if you want it to be affected by light, you can let it be standard. You can also change it to physically based if you want that. Is a material. We will add a loop animation because we want an animation. The progress goes into a transition. Remember this, whenever you are using animation, most of the times, like 95% of the cases, I would say, the loop animation and the transition come together, because the animation is simply, to put it in very simple word, what the animation patch does is it repeats a task again and again. And what a transition patch does is it changes a value from one value to another value. So generally, when you do animations in SparkAI, you want to continuously change one value to another and back, and then it changes to the same value and then back. So that's why animation and transition patches usually work together. We will change that to vector. Vector. We want number, so we'll change it to number. Why we want number, I will show you in a minute. Let's select HDF. Let's search HDFs, and when I search HDFs, you can see that there are so many, like literally a lot of options come up. It's not possible to show all of them in this session, and I'm sure you will also get bored if I start showing them one by one. So I will show one, and you can play around with all of them in the assignment. I would love to see what you come up with. They're fun to experiment with. So we will take SDF circle. We want to manipulate the radius of this circle. So what we are doing is you will see that a circle is created on the rectangle, and we want to be changing its radius so it animates that the circle becomes smaller and smaller till it covers up the user, and it starts again outside the screen, and then it becomes smaller and smaller and covers up the user again. So we want to do that. So it's a single value. So that's why we have chosen number on the transition patch. If it was double values, like if we wanted to manipulate the center values, then we would have chosen a vector 2. So when we choose vector 2, we can manipulate for both x and y, but we only want a single value. So we will be choosing number. And after this, you need to add a step patch. And you connect that with the texture. And you can see that something is happening. If you give this a color now, you will see that there's a circle that it starts at the center of the screen, and it then opens up, and that keeps happening again and again. Now we don't want this very sharp edge of the circle. We want to make it a little light, should look good also. So remove the step and add a smooth step. It's up to you if you want the sharp transition, if you want the sharp edges of the circle, you can have that. But I don't want that, so I will be using smooth step. So as you can see, it's much smoother now, and I will also be increasing the time of the animation by changing this value in the loop animation, and it will become slower now. I think I prefer that a bit faster, so I'll put it at 1.5, and maybe I will change the transition values a bit. Let's make this -1. That is too much. -0.5. Yeah, around something around that should be fine. So this is one of the many kinds of animations you can do with the SDFs. Also, make sure to change this to capture, because it might sometimes have some, you might face some issues if it is to user sharing. So here, that's the SDF circle. We can also try with SDF star. We already used the SDF star in last class. where we made the particle system with the SDF stars. So let's see, what do we want to change? Let's say I want to change the outer radius and remove this, and I also want to change the inner radius, but I want to subtract it first by 0.25, because if the outer and inner radius is the same value, then it wouldn't look that good. There should be some variation in the outer and inner radius so you can make it a star, make it out that it's the star. Let's see what that does. It's not very evident yet because it's probably a very big star. You can see some light changes at the ends. Let's make this a little bit smaller. This is the thing with HDFs and SparkAR in general. You have to experiment a lot to see what works. Let's use a step instead of a smooth step to see exactly what's happening. Okay, so this is what is happening, and in the smooth step you cannot exactly make it out because it's blurred. I don't think this looks very good, but it might you can make some effects from this. Like if you put this in the background, this looks like that cartoon effect where like there are different types of lines coming out from the background. So you might, if you play around with this, you might be able to make that. You can increase the number of points of the star. Currently it's a 5-pointed star. If I put in 10, it will be a 10-pointed star. I can put in a really big number and it will, this kind of looks good now. It looks like a sun. You could put it in the background. It might make some kind of an effect. And you can also mirror the loop animation. So it mirrors like this instead of starting over and over again. Let's see what happens if I make the outer radius smaller and the inner radius bigger. Hmm. That's an interesting effect, and I think it would look better if we put this kind of an effect in the background of the person instead of the in front of the person. So basically, that's how you use HDFs. This is the basic way to animate HDFs. You use a loop animation and a transition. You apply an HDF to it, let's say an HDF circle. You put a step after that, because if you can directly connect the STF to the material, but you will not see anything. You might see really light, something really light, but it's for a good animation to see it properly, you need the step. I can make out like the stars like it's really light. It's not ideal for a effect. If you are looking for an effect with STFs, you generally need steps. The smooth step here isn't helping. So with the circle, you saw what the smooth step does. So that is STFs, and you can play around with STFs. Again, there are a lot of STFs. We can go through some of these and read the description. We won't be using them. So, for example, let's talk about the SDF union. So, if you have studied about unions in maths, which I'm sure you have, it was in grade 11 and 12 of your school. So, what a union it does is it matches the entire area of the two things that it is uniting. To put it in a simpler way, using sets, imagine there's a set A and set B. If you do a union, set A union set B, it would mean the entire area covered by set A, set B, and whatever's between them, the intersecting area as well. So in STFs, what the union can do is, say you take an STF circle, you put an STF rectangle over it, and you do union. So it will make a shape that is a mixture of both the circle and the rectangle. And you can have some pretty interesting effects with that. For example, you can create a sun probably with a SDF circle and an SDF star with say 50 points. So a 50 pointed star, and in between there's a circle. So it would look somewhat like a sun. So you can play around with that. There's also the SDF intersect, which is the same as the intersection in set theory that you study. There are different kinds of shapes. There are different kind of operations you can perform on those shapes within SDFs. So that was STFs. Let's see what we have next. Okay, so next we will work on a software known as GIMP. I use GIMP, you can use Photoshop, you can use Krita. There are different kinds of softwares available. GIMP is open source, it's free, that's why I use it. So this is the interface of GIMP. GIMP stands for uh, GNU Image Manipulation Program. So that's the full form of GIMP. And then there's some full form for GNU as well, but I don't remember that. Now, in the first class, if you remember that you downloaded a face reference assets folder, probably not in the first class. I sent it to you in the form. At the end of the form, there was a link which said face reference assets. So you can use the reference assets here in GIMP to create something for the face mask. So let's see how that works. So these are the different layers of GIMP. Let me first show you around GIMP a bit before we use it. So these are the different layers. So these are on top of each other. For example, this is a layer on top of the white layer. I'm not sure why the red thing is happening. It's a issue with the image itself. And then there's a layer on top of that. Now you see, if you make the bottommost layer invisible, nothing happens because the topmost layer is what you can see at any given point. So let's remove those again. Just have the white layer. These are the different tools. Some of these you will be familiar with if you have used the basic paint software in school just for fun. So for example, this is the fill tool. If you select any color and you fill it, it will fill the entire screen with that color. And we have the pencil tool which you can draw with. You can change the size of the pencil tip. You can change the type of pencil you want. For example, if you want to create a star, you just select a star from there on the right side and you can create a star. So that is the pencil tool, and there's different tools such as the move tool. You can move a layer. For example, this is a white square on top of the transparency layer. So you can move the white square to wherever you want. This is a rotation layer, rotation tool. There's a resize tool. So there are a lot of tools. You can also add text using the text box. We won't be doing that, not right now. And there are a lot of different tools. There's a eraser and so on. So what I want to do right now is I want to make a face mask. I want to make something which I can use on the face mask effect. So for that, I would be turning this on. So what this is it's a male face. You also have a female face. What this is the spread out version of the face mesh you see in SparkAR. So, for example, some of you had the problem in the first class. You approached me and said that how do I know that I am, if I put some texture, it will go on the face, on the nose, on the cheeks. How do I know that? One way you can do that is create it and put it on a rectangle in SparkAR and then place the rectangle very close to the face. But that doesn't sound really efficient. You want it to be on the face mask, the face mesh. So this is how you do it. This is the different points of the face mesh. If you put something, if I make something here, if I make a circle here, for example, if I make two circles here, uh, not really circles, whatever that is, and if you turn off all the layers, oh sorry, not all the layers. Okay, just a second. You have to create a new layer. Should be transparent. Okay, let's erase those first. Yep, let's create a new layer. You'll see in a minute why I'm creating a new layer. Okay, this is a new layer. Let's say I want stars on her face, on the cheeks. So I create the stars on the new layer, the transparent layer. Now what I can do is I can turn off the visibility of all the other layers and I'm left with this. Now if I export this image and put it on SparkAR on the face mesh, you don't have to change the effect whatsoever. If you put this image in SparkAR on the face mesh, these stars will automatically appear on the cheeks of the person, cheeks of the face. So that is how you know how to place your graphics on the face mesh. You can use one of these. face feminine, face masculine, doesn't matter which one. The main areas where the cheek is, where the lips are, it's pretty much the same. Or you can just use this. I'm not using this because of this weird red artifacts that's happening. So let's use the female face and let's make something else. I want to make the cute, the Japanese anime effect. Have you seen that when someone is shy or someone blushes basically in an anime, their cheeks become pink. So I want to make that. So let's try to make that. I'll erase this first. Okay. Uh, keep in mind that whatever drawings you're doing or whatever you're making it on the transparent layer, on top of the reference layer, the face feminine reference or whatever reference you're using. Because if you make it directly on the reference, it will appear as if you're working right, but now you cannot, there's no way to separate it from the reference. So you don't want these eyes, that nose, that weird lips. You don't want all that. You don't want to export all of that. You just want your graphics. So you should keep in mind not to draw on the reference layer, but to draw on the new transparent layer. To make a transparent layer, you just have to right click here and create new layer and choose transparency here. So let's make that. I want pink color, pinkish color. Want the normal brush, the normal circle. It looks fine. Let's make small lines. Doesn't have to be too perfect. It's just something rough I'm making, and I will be smudging it. This is the smudge tool. Yes, I will be smudging it a bit. I'll just do it really quickly and roughly just to show you how it's done, but you can take your time in this stage because uh, you have to make sure that your effect looks good. I'll do it quickly. I'm not worried about symmetry right now. If you do control and scroll bar, you will zoom in. Control and scroll bar towards the upward direction, you zoom in, and for zoom out, just scroll down. But you have to hold control while you do it. The smudge doesn't look really good, but it's okay. We'll do with it for now. Okay, so I want this on the face. So now if you turn off the face and the white background, there's a this line on the white background. Let's remove that. Oh, make the white background off. We don't need that anyway. So now this is your layer, the thing you want. So now we will export that. Go to File, Export as. Let's export it as face texture anime. Export. Make sure to export it as PNG because we want all that transparency. The checkerboard pattern you see here is transparency. We want the transparency. If you export it as JPEG or JPG, it will convert that to black, which you don't want. Now let's open SparkAR and add a face mesh and see how it looks. Face mesh, add a material to it. Currently the face mesh is doing this weird thing because we have the HDF layer on top of it. So it's clipping with the layer. So we can just turn off the use depth test and it fixes that. Now let's import our texture. that we just created. Here it is. Turn the material flat. First, I'll turn off the compression on this because it's already small size texture. It's just 12 kilobytes. 16 kilobytes. We don't really need to compress it. Go to the material, make it flat, and then we choose the texture. And you can see that the texture appears on the person's face, the cheeks, as you wanted. I hope you can see. You can change the person to see, change test here to see how it will look on different face colors, how it will look on different face shapes. So that was a rough example of how you can work with GIMP to create 2D assets for the face. So you can create anything. You can also create, for example, if you wanted a small heart on the nose, you can do that here. You would just turn this on and make a heart here. Just create a heart just on the tip of the nose and it should appear on the nose when you put it here. So that was GIMP. We will be using GIMP again for making as an asset for a game. We will be a mini game we will be learning to how to make in this class. Let's see what's next first. So we are done with the face effect. Now let's talk about the Kira Kira effect. What is the Kira Kira effect? Let's first remove everything. We don't want the STF right now. Let's remove this canvas. The face mesh, we don't want any of that. And I'll be deleting the materials as well. Just a second. Yeah, so what the Kira Kira effect is, you must have seen this quite a lot if you use Instagram filters. That is an effect where small stars appear on you. Like you turn your cam on and there's a constant animation of stars all over you. It's the stars are sometimes visible, sometimes invisible. It's a really nice aesthetic effect, I would say. It's quite popular to use it in different kinds of effects, especially in beauty effects. So we will be using that, making that, and for that you can just search the AR library for Kira, Kira, and you will get a pre-made patch for that. It's called Simple Kira. So let's import that. There's this issue in the new version of SparkAR, latest version, that when you import, it doesn't, yeah, it takes some time to import, or it doesn't import sometimes. So we have this here. It finally imported. You just drag and drop it in the patch editor. This is the Kira Kira patch here. You can open this up to know what's inside it if you want to. I opened this up. It's quite complex. You can see there are a lot of patches. You don't have to. They have made this for you to just use directly. You can see that here we need a sparkle texture for the stars. There's something called shift, which we don't have to look at. There are pixel count, there's a camera texture, and there's a device resolution. These are the 5 things that we can manipulate. So for the camera texture, you know how to get the camera texture. You just go to the camera and then you click on the plus icon next to texture extraction. That creates a camera texture, and we can just drag and drop the camera texture in and connect it with camera texture. For device resolution, go to the device, just drag and drop it here, and you will see something known as the screen scale. So what device resolution is basically is the size of the device the person is using. So connected with the, just a second, the screen size, sorry, the screen size, the size of the screen. It's connected with the screen size. That's taken care of. For the sparkle, we need a PNG image of a star, a small star. So I have already downloaded one. It looks like this. I will be sending it to you. It looks something like this. Now you can change it, I mean, GIMP a bit. Let's do that. Let's make it a bit interesting. It's currently just a star. So go to File, Open. Just a second. Here it is. Okay, so what I can do with this is I can create the same layer 3 times, which is new from visible. And I can go to colors, components, and channel mixture. And I can change the green and blue value to 0 here. For the top layer, it's just red. For the second layer, we will do the same thing, but we will make the red and the blue as 0. So it becomes green. And for the bottom layer, we will do the same thing, but it will look blue now. So it's blue. Now we will change the mode from normal to addition. From normal to addition. So this basically gives us the same star back. Looks a little purplish at the edges. Maybe the blue is a little bigger, but it pretty much practically gives us the same star back. And now you can use the move tool to move it by a little, couple pixels to the left and the other to the right, and you will get this nice glitched effect. So a glitchy star, you could say. This 3D, slightly 3D, not 3D, but like uh, the pixels are the red pixels and the blue pixels are clearly visible. So I like this much better. So I'll save this as export as, let's say, glitchy star. So you can just quickly do a lot of manipulations in GIMP to your textures, make them look better. There's a lot of things you can do. There are a lot of different kinds of manipulations you can do. There are different kinds of filters, such as you can blur the entire image, you can distort it, add light and shadow. There's a lot of things. GIMP is a separate program completely, which you can learn, but we just need it for the simple stuff right now. So I will add that star. Let's see how it looks. Glitchy star. We'll add the glitchy star here. And we need to create a new rectangle on top of our camera. Here it is. Create a material for it. Let's call that the glitch material. Glitch. And make the rectangle fill width and fill height like always. With such effects, we always want to fill the width and height. Okay, now the final few steps. Change the material to flat. Make the patch for a texture, and then connect the texture to the texture patch. I currently cannot see anything because the pixel count is just 1. So let's change it to a higher value, let's say 5. Now you can see a few stars, but those are big stars. Let me change the video to some other person so you can see it better. Let's change it to this. So I hope now you can see the stars, but they are pretty big. So you can change the value up to 10. The stars are smaller and more in number. Let's take a value of 12 and we can change the transparency a bit so that it doesn't look that hard. Let's change the transparency to around 60%. This is how it looks currently. You can play around with all these values and make it up to your liking. So this is basically the Kira Kira effect, and I'm sure you must have seen it a lot on Instagram. It is quite often used with a different alert effect. So the alert effect turns the entire screen black and white, and then there's a Kira Kira effect on top of that. So there are stars. so it looks quite aesthetically pleasing. So this is how you make the Kira Kira effect. I'll pause that. Let's move on to the next thing we want. The next thing we want to do is use blocks. How to use blocks? What are blocks in SparkAR? So if you let's first of all delete all this. The patches are also quite simple. I hope you understand everything. I will still send a picture of these patch groups, but it is quite easy. It's not nearly not as complicated as the earlier patches we have already covered. So let's remove the rectangle as well. Okay. Now we'll go back to our AR library. There's a lot of things in AR library you can play around with. So there's something known as blocks. What blocks are is that someone, even you can make it. Someone made a SparkAR project for something, and then they converted it to a block, and then they put it into the AR library or put it into their computer, so they can use that again and again. For example, the Kira Kira effect. There is currently no block for the Kira Kira effect, but for example, I wanted to make a block for that. I would make the Kira Kira effect, the stars effect, and convert it to a block. And now, whenever I want to make that effect, I can just import the block in my any other effects, and it will show up on that. So I will show you this with a makeup effect because today we are making the beauty effect. So let's take this makeup effect and import this. Now it might take a little bit more time to import. So we'll just wait for a bit. You can see here at the description of the block that you can do quite a lot of different makeup things. There's eyeliner, which you can change the color of the eyeliner, the opacity. There's eyeshadow. There's the color of the lips or the lipstick. There's also the size of the eyelashes. So it is quite literally a complete makeup effect, which is pre-made for you and free to use. And everything on the AR library is copyright free and free to use. You can use that without any questions. So it is imported. With blocks, you have to drag and drop them directly into the scene panel. They won't go into the patch editor. You have to directly drag and drop them into the scene panel. Let's see what happens. Okay, now you can see that it shows onto the face of this person. He looks like a drag queen now. Anyway, you can change the eye color, eyeliner color. Let's give it red. Let's make it red. Let's make it a little less. So we will change the value to 0.75. Eyeshadow. Let's make it black. Let's go all black. I'm not an expert in makeup, so I'm just doing whatever. It's probably not going to end up looking good, but just trying to make you understand what the different possibilities that are there. So completely red lipstick. Uh, let's keep those where they are, and we can change the eye color of the eyelashes. Let's make them a little gray. That looks weird. Let's take it back to black. And you can change the length of the eyelashes. So at the maximum, these like really long eyelashes, and at the minimum, it is like the length of a normal eyelash. So let's keep it here, somewhere here. So you can see that it's quite a nice makeup effect. Now you can add a retouch to this. So for retouch, you just need a face mesh, and you need to add a material to it. It's called this material retouch. And what you have to do is change the shader type to retouching. It's nothing complex here. Once you change it to retouching, it becomes transparent and the skin is smoothened. So you can control how much smoothing of the skin you want. 100% smoothing looks really unnatural, so keep it low, keep it to 75, maximum of 75. I like to keep it around 40 to 60. So let's just keep it at 50 currently. So what this is doing is it is smoothing the skin. It is taking away any small marks on your skin you might have, probably pimple scars or anything like that. It will remove that. So this is a very simple example of a beauty effect makeup. You can probably find a lot of different kinds of things you can use in the AR library. Already open. Yes. So even in the blocks, there is a block for the eye color. This might be a little bit buggy, and you probably shouldn't use that because we already have a template for eye color. There's already an eye color template, so you don't need to use the patch for that. And then there's the face distortion. Someone was asking how to distort the face like in Snapchat. So there's the face distortion block you can use. There are different kinds of blocks. There are different kinds of a lot more different kinds of patch assets. And these are not made by SparkAR. These are made by creators like you, and then they upload it here. So you can see the name of the creator who made this at the bottom. So you can add a chromatic aberration. A chromatic aberration is the same thing that we did with the star. We kind of made it a bit glitchy. That is called a chromatic aberration effect. So here's a patch for that if you want the entire effect to be like that glitchy effect. The reds and blues are shifted. And there are different kinds of you. I highly recommend that you go through everything here, and you might not find time to try everything, but just find something you want to make and just try it out. There's also this effect that was quite popular a few weeks back. There was this the black and white plus yellows. You must have seen a lot of reels where the person is holding a banana and then they show their teeth to see how yellow their teeth are. And this was made possible with the black and white except one color patch, where the except one color is the yellow color which they choose. It's not even hard to make. You just need the camera texture and the material. Just literally just three patches, and you need to set the color from here. So that's that. I suggest you to try out a lot of things from the AR library. You will be pleasantly surprised by how many things you can do with this resources that are already available there. Let's now make a game effect, a randomizer game effect. You must have seen these kinds of effects in SparkAR, which in which you, if when you turn on the effect, a small rectangle appears on top of your head and it says something. And when you start recording, the pictures change and then it settles on one picture. For example, what is your favorite food? It might say what is your favorite food, and when you start the effect, it shows different kinds of foods like French fries, burgers, pizzas, and then it randomly stops on one. So that's one kind of a game, a mini game you can call it, and it is quite easy to make. So let's remove the blocks, the makeups. Actually, I'll just show you the effect that I've already made with that. Let's turn off Spark here. We'll, we'll just open my already made project. Here it is, randomizer.ar project. Just a second while it opens. It's quite slow sometimes. The new update is kind of slower on my PC. I'm not sure if that's the case with all of you, but it is a bit slow. You can see that we still don't have a lot of patches in this. I will explain it to you. So let's see what's on the scene panel first. You just need two rectangles on your scene panel, a face tracker and two rectangles. These are the only extra things which you need apart from the stuff that comes already in a empty scene. So the face tracker, the rectangles are following the face tracker. There are two rectangles on top of each other here. You cannot see obviously because one is visible and the other is invisible. But basically, there's two rectangles of the same size here. Let me see if I can show you. We will delete this patch. Yes, so there are two rectangles. One is the animal and the other is the question, what is your spirit animal? Let's place that back where it was and make the patch for that again. So this is everything you need. From the texture, this is something new. Let's say that you added three animal. I have only added three animals. Let's say you have three. Let's say you have three. These three: an owl, a shark, and a tiger. These are the three I've added. Let's say that these are different kinds of animals. Now, up to the classes which we have done yet, session 1 and session 2, how you would do this is assign three different rectangles and make one the owl for assign the owl to one rectangle, the shark to another rectangle, and the tiger to a third rectangle. You don't really need to do that. There's a really simple technique which you can utilize to show all of those on a single rectangle. Select all your images, the owl, the shark, and the tiger, and change the type to a texture sequence. Now what happened is it made a simple texture in a sequence with all the three textures. So the best way to understand it is there's a single texture with values assigned to it. When the value is 0, the first texture will be shown. When the value is 1, the second one will be shown. When the value is 3, the third will be shown. But overall, it's a single texture, so you can use it on a single rectangle. So it saves a lot of space for you. For example, let's say we wanted to add an animation. An animation is quite literally hundreds of frames. So you cannot go around making 100 rectangles. That would probably not even be feasible. It won't show on SparkAR because that would be a really big file. So this is how you do it. You make a texture sequence. And the next thing we did is create two materials, one for the question. Let's rename that. And one for the texture sequence of the answers. So let's rename that to answers. As you can see here in the texture, we have selected an animation sequence. That's because once you create a texture sequence, you cannot directly assign it to materials. You have to add assets. Just right click here, add assets, and you have to select an animation sequence. Let's remove our animation sequence and make that again so I can show it to you. So add assets and animation sequence. Let's name that answer animation. Because at the end of the day, it's just an animation, 3 frames animating one after the other. So answer animation here from the texture, you can choose this 123, which was the name of our three textures packed together. And currently what it's doing is it made an animation of 3 frames. So now you can use this animation and attach it to the material. I hope it's clear what I'm doing here. So the material has an animation sequence attached to it, and the animation sequence has the 1 to 3 texture attached to it, which we converted to texture sequence. Now from the animation answer animation, you just want to take the current frame patch and connect it, and you can change the frame per second from here. If you have a higher frame per second FPS, it will the animation will happen faster, and if you have a smaller FPS, it will happen slower. The animation here is nothing but when you turn on an effect like that, what food is your favorite, when you turn it on, there's a quick animation where it goes through all the possible frames quickly. Like for example, we have the 3 frames here: owl, shark, and tiger. So it will just randomly go through owl, shark, tiger in a fast sequence before it settles on one. So that fast sequence that we have is the animation here. Okay, now I will explain the patches. It's really simple. So first of all, we have the camera patch. This is not the camera texture, this is the camera itself. So we take the camera and drag and drop it here, and it forms this patch. From the why we want the camera patch, because we want this effect to play as soon as the person starts playing the video, as soon as the person starts recording the video. So it is possible with this uh, node on the camera patch, which is called video recording. So as soon as we start video recording, we want a delay of 1 second. Why do we want a delay of 1 second? Because once you start the effect, you must, like, if you're posting it on your Instagram, your followers must be able to see what the question was, right? So the question will appear for 1 second. It will be visible for 1 second before it becomes invisible again, and then the answers, all the possible options will become visible, and they will animate. So this is the simple thing for that. Once you start recording the video, after a delay of 1 second, the question becomes invisible and the answers become visible, to put it in simple words. And after that, we want the animation to play for a specific amount of time, right? Because you don't want the animation to continue playing forever, because we want an answer for the question. And the answer we get only when the animation stops. So for that, we connect the video recording to a pulse and an offset. So it resets, and this is a runtime patch. Why we have a runtime patch is because we want that animation to stop after a certain number of seconds, so we decide how many seconds. So here the runtime patch goes into the value of the offset, and the value of the offset goes into less than. So we put 5 here. So after 5 seconds, the animation will stop and you will have your answer. What's your spirit animal? The animal's photo will show. So for 5 seconds it will animate, and then there's a loop animation, which is basically the animation which is happening. And we don't want the animation to stop on the same animal all the time, so we use a random patch. What a random patch does is, it gives out a random value between the ranges you enter. So now, since we have three images, we have put the range as 0 to 2, so 0, 1, 2, three options. And you have to add the pass through a round patch, because a round patch, what it does, it is, it approximates. The random patch will give a value in decimals. It will almost every time give a value in decimals. And we don't want a value in decimals. Our frames are 1, 2, and 3. Their values are 0, 1, and 2, the index values. So you want 0, 1, or 2. So you'll round that out. And for example, the value the random range gave was 1.112. So it will be rounded to 1, and the animal picture associated with the number 1 will be your spirit animal. And you connect that with the animation's current frame patch, like we created. Let me create that again to show you. We select the animation sequence, we create a patch for the current frame, and we connect this. So this is a simple, really simple patch group for this. And this is the entire game. This is literally, quite literally, the entire game. I cannot show it to you on here because this plays when you start recording, and there is no button to record on SparkAR. But if you can test it by sending it to your device. So when I sent it to my Instagram, I could see that it was working quite well. So this is this, and the last thing, probably the last thing for today. Yes, this was the game effect, and the last thing for today is adding instructions. Now, for games like these, I told you that you have to start recording the effect for it to play. But how will your user know that? Like, someone might just open the effect and they just see nothing is happening, and then they will move to the next effect. They don't have the patience to actually try playing the video. Or for example, you have a game where you have to open your mouth to do something, like last week's assignment. You had to open your mouth to change the 3D objects around your head. How will the user know this? You're not going to go and tell everyone who is using your effect how to do that. So for that, we make instructions. For example, here you can see that there's an example: tap and hold the record button to start. That will not occur automatically. You have to set it inside Spark here. Let me disable that so I can show you how that works. Okay, so how to add instructions? Go to project and edit properties. Go to capabilities, and in capabilities, for me the instruction is showing, but it won't usually show. Let's remove that. So what you do is click on the plus icon and type in instruction. Now this instructions option appears. Uh, Take the custom instructions. I have custom instructions and open that up. There's an option called select instructions to use. Add the plus. Let's remove this. Yeah, add the plus. And there are different kinds of instructions now. You will find that you can add, like open mouth to start, or effect responds to sound. This effect uses sound. This effect uses flashing images. This might be a good warning for people who might have epilepsy. If your effect has a lot of flashing lights, you might want to put this effect because you don't want anyone to have a stroke watching your effect. If the person is having epilepsy, he might have a stroke watching flashing lights. So this is a warning. So there are different kinds of that, different kinds of instructions. We want the press record to start. So you can just search for it, and here it is. Tap and hold the record button to start. We insert that here. We insert that here. Done. And now how do you add it to your effect? Just go to device, custom instruction. There should be an option for custom instruction here after you have done all that in the project option. And then on opening, choose an instruction. We will choose tap and hold record button to start. So it will automatically create these three patches here. So these are the three patches that are created on runtime. When runtime is less than 5 seconds, this instruction will be shown. You can change the time. Let's say that we want it only for 3 seconds. So once the effect is opened for 3 seconds, this instruction will be shown at the bottom of the screen. As you can see here, tap and hold the record button to start. So that was adding instructions. And lastly, I will show you how to make these textures, like what's your spirit animal. I didn't find this on Google. I made this myself on GIMP. I will show you how. So let me delete this so I can make it again and you understand. So these are my three pictures here which I used in the effect. Now one of the important things which I should tell you is that all your effects, I got these effects from Unsplash. Now you might not get the same sized effects. Most probably you will not get the same sized effects. You will have to crop them, and even after cropping them, they might not be the exact same size. So how to fix that? So I'll change the size of this effect of this image to show you. Let's zoom in. You can just move around with the when you click on the middle mouse button, it just allows you to move around and click on scale. So now this is a really big image. Like the size is not the same as the other sizes. You can tell by the yellow outline. Now, how do I make this effect? If make this image the same size as the other images, just go to layer and layer to image size. Now that changes the size of the image to that of the layer. So now all of the images are the same size. So you can individually export all these images. Now let's create the what spirit animal are you question. So for that, just create a new layer and make it, well, let's say white. And this time let's make it a bit blue. We had greenish last time. Just use the fill tool, fill, and create this text box. Put the text box on top of it. Type your thing in. You have to change the color of the text first because it will be the same as the background first. So keep that in mind. Cool. Now you can change the font from here. There are different kinds of fonts in GIMP. You can also import your own fonts. It is a little complicated if you want to import your own fonts from the internet into GIMP, but there are a lot of tutorials out there for that. But there are already quite a lot of fonts on GIMP, so you can use any of these. You can change the size of the font. You can change the spacing between the letters. You can change the spacing between two lines. So a lot of customization is possible. So once this is done, I usually create a new layer from visible, new from visible. What this means is that GIMP will create a new layer from everything that's visible on screen currently. So if I turn everything else off, this is my layer. What is your spirit animal? Earlier I had a blue layer, and on top of that I had a text layer. These are different currently, but when I made a new from visible command, it just made this new texture with the question on top of it. So since we made this on top of our animal images, it is the same size. So you can export it and use it in your effect. So that's what I did. That's what I did. And just make sure that these are flat, the materials. Standard usually wouldn't look that good. You might want to use physical, what was it called? Just a second. Yeah, physically based materials if you want to add some metallic properties to your materials. That's all for today. Now we will talk about the assignment. It was a pretty small class, just 1 hour. We didn't have much left. So the assignment is the simplest for this week. Like I said, you just have to create a beauty effect. This is a really vague assignment. Like anything, you can make so much in beauty effects. You can do that makeup block which I talked about. You can add LUTs to make it black and white. You can do retouching. You can add the kira kira stars. You can add a lot, all of that together and make a beautiful effect. There's a lot of creative freedom here. And also you have to make a creative effect with STFs, like the one we did at the very beginning of the class. You can add both of these together, which I would suggest, because then it wouldn't even take you 30 minutes to make an beauty effect with an STF feature to it. So it is quite a simple effect. I expect a lot of submissions for this. For the last two assignments, I will be adding empty templates which I made. Let me show them to you, and you can use them. Just open them with Spark. I'll show the first, only the first assignment. The second is the same, pretty much the same. Just give it a minute to open. SparkAR is extremely slow while opening two two if two different projects at once. It becomes quite slow on my PC, so I'll close the last project. Sorry for the background noise. So this is the empty template for the first assignment, where the patches are already there inbuilt, pre-made. You don't have to do anything with the patches. The only thing you need to change is the background. So these are the 5 backgrounds. There are 5 materials. You need to add in your own textures and just assign the textures here. So if you were unable to make the first assignment and the second assignment, most of you were able to make it. But if you were unable, you can just download this and add textures and submit it. So you are eligible for the shirt and the swags at least. And you will also, if you can add textures to backgrounds and understand how the effect is working, you understood how Spark works, at least the basics of it. So the fade in fade out works, the background changing works. You just have to change the add textures to the backgrounds. Similarly, for the I will add a template for the assignment too. You will just have to add in your own 3D models for that, and it will work. So that's it. I'm done for today, and this was the final session. I really had a lot of fun teaching you all about SparkAR, and you all are submitting quite creative assignments. I'm really like happy and pleasantly shocked by seeing a lot of your assignments. Some of you submit assignments for which has like advanced capabilities than what I have taught. So those are always wonderful to look at. And since all of you know, today was the last session of SparkAR, so you will not be seeing any more of me from the next weeks. But there's something that XoRphilic has come up with, and Oishika will be telling you about that. So, Oishika.
Yeah. Thank you, Dipan, for the wonderful session. I think we have a video before we get into the announcement part. So
Right,
can
we
we?
have that. We have the. If you remember, we said that we will be showing the top submissions for the 2 weeks. So we have selected the top 6 submissions. So Pradyum will be showing that now.
Hi, I am Ankit Poddar and I'm glad to be part of this program where I'm learning exactly what I wanted to learn. Finally, I created something of my own and getting appreciation for it. When people talk about destination, one thing that come to mind is seven wonders, which caused me to make this seven wonder effect. In which, if you will tap the screen, I'm just teleported to the another country with another wonder. CATM. I type it. Now I am in Agra. At last, again, I will thank you all for giving me this opportunity to showcase my talent in your YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
So I prepared this filter with the idea that when the person smiles, a diamond appears on his head that spins at one place, and when he doesn't smile, a ball appears on his nose that changes its size according to the background sound of the user. And I have given three different backgrounds with three buttons that are provided below in the filter to change the background. And there are three different particle effects for each background.
Hello, myself Adasha Sahu. The urge of creating AR filters started after attending this workshop. This filter was actually a part of the second assignment. In order to make it look a bit different, I used the outline effect along with the UI select.
Hello everyone, I'm Alok and this is my first filter I made using SparkAR. Aside from the basic background segmentation and transition, I used particle systems to apply hertz on top of my head. I also used a face mesh to apply a mask on my face. I stumbled across the hertz particle system while exploring SparkAR documentation and tutorials. And face mask was something I planned on applying from very beginning due to the recent times of COVID. Initially, it did not work, but now it works using the right to depth feature taught to us in second session. This is a filter I'm quite proud of, and I aspire to make more filters in future. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Dipan Bhaiya for guiding us throughout the workshops and XoRphilic team for hosting the workshop and teaching us about filters and augmented reality.
Hi, this is my fade in fade out filter, which I gave name this teleporter. I have seen when I was kid in lot of movies and cartoon serials that people travel from one place to another by just uh, blinking their eyes. So I tried to make this filter so that I can make the teleporter thing real. In Instagram only, that gave me the motivation. So I hope you like it. Thank you.
So that was the top effects which were submitted till now. And I will take before I give you the mic, Oishika. I will take just a few minutes to uh, see all the doubts. There are only
Sure.
a few of them. So Sandesh Bhatt asks, can I submit only the second and third assignment? Yes, you can do that, Sandesh. We expect only 2 assignments from you. I know one of another updates which I want to give you all that is that earlier the deadline for the first and second assignment was today, but we have decided to extend it by 2 or 3 more days. So submit it by Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday. Let's say Wednesday. Submit it by Wednesday because we had Diwali, so a lot of you might have been quite busy with the celebrations. So keeping that in mind, you have 2 or 3 more days to submit your effects for the assignment 1 and 2. For the assignment 3, the deadline is till next week, which is 13th of November. So yes, Sandesh, to answer your question, you can submit only the second and third assignment. Ekalavyan asks, is there any way to add instructions for end user at a certain point of time interval? Yes, you can. You just have to use the patches in that way. The runtime patch, it basically returns how many seconds the effect has been live for. So you can make the instruction appear at after a certain time. So you can do runtime connected to more than instead of less than. So let's say you want to make that appear 10 seconds or 15 seconds after the effect has started. So runtime more than 15, and then it appears, and then less than 20, and then it disappears. So it will appear between 15th and the 20th second. And there are different kinds. You just have to use the patches. You can also trigger it after something specific happens in the effect. So for example, you are saying that you created a birthday filter. So yeah, so whenever you want to make that instruction appear, just whatever is happening right before it, you're saying that there's a screen tap right before it. So connect the screen tap and then make it a condition that after the screen tap, after 10 seconds or 5 seconds, the instruction will appear. You have to try it out in the patch editor. So those were the only two questions, I guess. These are the only two questions I can see. So yeah, and finally, if you want to, since we won't be seeing each other again, so if you want to connect with me, my Instagram is written right next to my name. It's zephyrus.cg. You can also follow me on Twitter. It's the same, but instead of a dot, there's an underscore. So zephyrus_cg. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. It's my full name, Dipayan Chaudhary. So okay, that's all from me. Hope to see you soon. See some of you soon if the college restarts in January. Okay, Ashik, I'm done. Please take it away.
Oh, we just saw some incredible and creative filters over there. So really appreciating, it's really, really appreciating and amazing to see such response, and the filters were really amazing. So also huge congratulations to you, Dipan. It's just because of you that we are getting such responses. So, guys, I have another amazing announcement for you. Seeing the enthusiasm and response from you guys, XoRphilic, our media partner, has decided to conduct another workshop series on creating an augmented reality application in Unity the coming weekend, that is on the 13th and 14th of November. The workshop is completely free for you guys. The registration form is provided in the chat section, so do fill out and spread this form among all your classmates and your class groups. So let me give you a brief overview of the session that is going to happen in the next weekend. So on the 13th, that is on the first day, we will develop a simple 3D game from scratch in Unity so that you get to familiarize with the Unity interface. And on the second day, that is on the 14th of November, we are going to dive deep into augmented reality and learn how to create an AR applications using Unity and other various plugins. So I assure you, this is going to be a lot more fun. So fill up the registration forms right away and also join our Discord server for more updates and informations regarding future event. Also, please do like, share, and subscribe our channel XoRphilic, and also hit the bell button for further notifications. So this officially brings us to the end of this workshop series. I again want to thank Dipayan for such wonderful insights and practical knowledge on SparkAR,
Thank
and
you.
our media partner XoRphilic for helping us conduct this session seamlessly. So this is
If I
Oishika.
may,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
sure.
just want to add a couple things.
Yeah.
So for the swags, some of you might be wondering when you will be getting the swags. So the swags come directly from Facebook. So and Facebook is conducting this similar workshops all over India in all the different a lot of different colleges. So you should expect it to take around 60 to 90 days. I know that's a lot of time, but it's coming from Facebook directly, and they will be starting the process of sending out the swags after it is done in every college, which should be done by the end of November. So it should take around 60 to 90 days after that. And I really urge you that you attend the workshop by XoRphilic if you are interested in, if SparkAR made you interested in augmented and virtual reality, Then Unity, creating augmented reality in Unity is completely new level and a level higher than what SparkAR is. You get to manipulate everything at the very basic level. So I suggest you to attend that if you got interested into augmented and virtual reality. This is officially the end of the SparkAR sessions. So for the XoRphilic sessions, you will have to register with the form that is provided. I guess it's in the description, right, Ashika?
Yeah, it's in the description or in the chat section.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. So, this is Oishika signing off. Bye bye, guys. Take care. And hope to see you on the next coming weekend. Thank you.